About 100 years ago, a man named Wilbur Scoville worked for a Detroit pharmaceutical company, and at work he needed to come up with a standard method for rating the spiciness of things. He thought he could do that by measuring how those spicy things reacted with chemicals in a lab setting, but that proved to be rather unpredictable and rather imprecise. More predictable and more precise, turns out, was this. Mr. Scoville found out that the human tongue was sensitive enough to detect the substance that gives us spiciness at concentrations way below any test you could cook up in a lab. The thing that gives us that spicy sensation is called capsaicin. It dissolves in alcohol. So Wilbur Scoville soaked spicy things in alcohol overnight to draw the capsaicin out of them. So now the spiciness would be in the alcohol solution, right? To that, he would add some sweetened water. The amount of water it took to make the capsaicin undetectable to the human tongue, the amount by which you had to dilute it in order to make it not spicy at all, that gave you a way to measure how much spiciness you had, how much capsaicin was in the thing that you were measuring. Excuse me. This is not actually a gag about spiciness. It's just me cat coughing on live TV. Excuse me. The measure of spiciness, because of this method that Scoville came up for measuring it, became forever known as the Scoville unit. It's named for Wilbur Scoville. A century later, we do have more precise ways to measure spiciness now, but essentially when people talk about heat and the human pain caused by spiciness, we still think in terms of Scoville units. This is the Scoville scale. Down there at 0 Scoville heat units is the sweet bell pepper. You can eat those puppies like apples. You might find it disgusting. I personally sort of hate bell peppers, but it's not a spicy experience. If you've ever had a chili relleno, that is usually a poblano pepper that's stuffed with cheese and then deep fried. It's delicious. Poblano pepper is about a quarter way up the Scoville scale. A jalapeno pepper, that tends to be the go-to reference for spiciness in most American pop culture. Imagine biting right into a raw jalapeno pepper. The jalapeno registers about 3,000 to 8,000 Scoville units. Cayenne pepper, we mostly use that in powdered form. It's so spicy you're rarely going to want to use an entire pepper's worth of it. The cayenne is about 10 times as spicy as the jalapeno. Moving on up to the I'm going to need a fire extinguisher territory is the habanero pepper. You know the Tabasco company and its famous hot sauce? The Tabasco company rates its different sauces. For comparison's sake, just in their sauce version of it, Tabasco says their own very hot original Tabasco sauce is here on the scale, right there. Their habanero sauce is the one above it in terms of its heat. So original Tabasco sauce is to habanero Tabasco sauce as tea light is to tiki torch. It's very hot. And yet, the habanero, which dwarfs Tabasco sauce and the jalapeno and the poblano and everything else, the habanero chili is really child's play when it's compared to the butjolokia. I'm sorry I'm saying it wrong. I know I am. It's also more commonly known as the ghost pepper. The ghost pepper is many times spicier than the habanero, certified as the hottest pepper in the world by the Guinness Book of World Records. There's a world of amateur video out there of people showing themselves, taping themselves, eating a ghost pepper, and then, forgive the word, but barfing or getting visibly and horribly sick for a very long time. On the Scoville scale, the highest pepper rating there is before pure, unadulterated, undiluted capsaicin. The highest pepper that's rated is the ghost pepper. And that's it. That is the spiciest pepper, spiciest thing on the spicy pain-inducing scale before you just get up to raw capsaicin at 15,000 Scoville units. Oh, wait, there is actually one more thing that is hotter than the ghost pepper, and that's pepper spray, the kind sold and used legally in the United States. On the Scoville scale, the U.S. grade pepper spray is rated as 2 to 5 times more intensely hot and therefore painful for humans than the ghost pepper is. That's pepper spray. For the Occupy Wall Street movement, seeing the police use disproportionate force on nonviolent protesters has been a galvanizing thing. And to a great extent, it has not just been the generic use of force that we have seen by police that has caused observers to have such a visceral reaction. To a great extent, it has been the specific use of this particular chemical weapon. Joining us now is Deborah Blum, Pulitzer Prize-winning science writer and author of The Poisoner's Handbook. Deborah Blum is a guest blogger for Scientific American, where she has been writing about pepper spray. Ms. Blum, thanks very much for joining us tonight. It's nice to have you here.
Thanks, it's great to be here.
Is the Scoville scale, you think, a useful and accurate way to understand what pepper spray is like as a weapon? I mean, it is on this scale with food. Is that misleading in any way?
It is in that, you know, people say pepper and they think, oh, something from the kitchen, something kind of domestic. But it's a really useful scale in that it gives us a point of reference that we all know. Almost everyone has occasionally made salsa or chopped up a pepper and gotten it in their eyes and felt that burn and knows how much it hurts. And so what the Scoville scale tells us is that pepper spray, commercial grade pepper spray, is off the charts from that experience. Habanero's about 350,000 on the Scoville. Police grade pepper spray is about 5.3 million, and that gives you a point of reference against your everyday life. So in terms of just saying, whoa, that's way beyond what I realized, the Scoville scale is incredibly useful, I think.
In terms of trying to understand the effect of pepper spray on human beings, nationwide we have all seen pepper spray shot into protesters' faces over the last few weeks at Occupy Wall Street events around the country. How much of a difference does it make in terms of the human experience of it, how it is actually applied, the quantity, the distance from which it's shot at you? I guess that it affects the overall dosage that you get, right?
Right, and that's a great question. You know, there's a saying in toxicology that the dose makes the poison. So one of the things the Scoville scale tells us is this is a very high dose, and we know capsaicins do two things. They bond to our nervous system, they trigger the pain response, and they're a little corrosive. They cause a chemical burn. So when you're talking about the kind of levels that you're talking about with commercial grade pepper spray, or people will call it OC spray, you're talking about a very intense dose, and that's why you actually see these incredible responses. You can see it on video. People fall over, people are screaming, people are rolling on the ground. That's another way of measuring how high this dose is, and the higher the dose, the more poisonous the effect, period. What
are the potential long-term effects or even medium-term health effects of being exposed to this in the kind of quantities that we've seen these protesters exposed to?
You know, that's a really good question, because most of our experience is the short-term blast-in-the-face effect. But studies that have been done looking at people who work with peppers or animal studies say this. They say that you can have sort of long-term effects on breathing. It's an inflammatory effect, right? It affects your nervous system and causes it to kind of blow up in some interesting ways. So it can make your allergic system worse. It makes asthma worse. It has long-term sort of burn effects in the respiratory system. I mean, a really good example of it is actually, we know that one blast in the face damages your eyes in a temporary sense. It disrupts the cells in the outer layer of the cornea. There's lots of studies that show that if this happens multiple times, you get permanent effects in the cornea, you get a long-term permanent blurring of vision, and that tells us in particular that if you're sprayed multiple times, you could be looking at some fairly serious long-term effects.
Deborah Blum is a Pulitzer Prize-winning science writer, author of The Poisoner's Handbook, a guest blogger for Scientific American. Thanks for helping us understand this. I have found your writing on this to be helpful for understanding it myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
All right.